So there we go. And I guess we'll go to the next slide. So in a moment, I am going to introduce key people here. Then we're going to give a brief overview of the project. It's really very brief, mainly going over the purpose. Then we're going to talk about the construction, which is really why we're here tonight. And after that, we're going to turn it over to you for questions. We will ask you if you can hold your questions to the end, except if you want, you can use that chat to feature to put questions in as they occur to you. And what we'll do when we get to the questions is I'll read any questions in the chat out loud. And then whoever's the most appropriate person to answer it will answer it. But when we get to the questions, you'll also be able to like raise your hand and just speak your question out loud. You don't have to do it through the chat. So introductions. Well, first of all, I want to introduce Frederick Reza. He actually goes by Bert, so you may hear us referring to him as Bert or as Frederick. He is our project manager for this project, and he's with the Public Works Department. Also, we have Carlos Lopez here. He is our project inspector, and so he will be the city representative who's actually on the construction site every day during this project. So if you do have questions that come up during the project, Carlos is probably going to be your first point of contact. John Middleton is here with the Watershed Protection Department, and he's going to take you through the project background for us. And then we also have RPS. They are our project engineers. And I don't think John Friedman is here, but James Schleich, do I have that right, is here with RPS. And also our contract.
This is John Friedman. I'm here. Okay. I'm on my phone audio. Sorry.
Okay, so John is with us. And then we also have facilities rehab. They're our contractors, and they've actually done several of these types of projects for us. And Kelly Anderson is their project manager. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to John to talk about why we're doing this.
Good evening. Again, I'm John Middleton. I'm an engineer with Watershed Protection, and I'm the project sponsor for the Meredith Storm Drain Improvement Project. We're doing this project for a couple of reasons, primarily to reduce flood risk to a number of houses along Meredith and Rockmore and the streets as well, and to also prevent stormwater from discharging into the cave. There's a connection from the inlet on Meredith that you may be familiar with that drops down into a cave system. This map shows the existing storm drain system in the neighborhood. The green lines are existing storm drains, and the yellow line is where we're going to put the new storm drain system. So we will connect the existing system on Meredith and route it around Rockmore. And we're not going to connect in here. We're going to replace this system with another system with higher capacity. So it'll carry away a little more water than that existing system does. You're probably familiar with what happens when it rains a lot in the area around 3607 and 3605 Meredith flood, as you can see the little aftermath in a couple of these pictures. This map is a map that we did. We modeled the area and applied the 100-year rainfall and created this inundation depth, flood depth. And the dark blue here in the center is the deepest area of flooding. That's over 3 feet of flooding in the 100-year storm. And the water collects there and then runs out between houses on Rockmore, onto Rockmore, and down to Cherry Lane, and where it heads down towards Lake Austin. And so you can kind of see the path of the surface flow of water on this map. And that's really what we're trying to do, reduce the flooding for those houses at Rockmore and Meredith, and then keep the water from getting into the cave system. So I'll turn it over to Bert, who will give you an idea of what the project is going to look like.
Thank you, John and Stephanie. Appreciate it. My name is Frederick Reza. I also go by Bert Reza. So either one is fine for you to communicate with me. I'm just going to go ahead and go over what the project is going to look like, which you can be ready for, what you will be seeing and what you'll be going through over the next year and a half or so. So we are here to put in a storm drain improvements here. It's going to include pipes, inlets, manholes, and a large outfall at Cherry Lane, which we had to acquire an easement for out there. There's also going to be water and wastewater relocations that go in ahead of time. So preemptively, there's going to be different phases, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit later. Gas relocations have already occurred, and I think some of the residents out there, those of you who are here with us, have had to see that already. But all that has been completed in anticipation for our work. And there was supposed to be some sidewalks going in along Rockmore, but unfortunately, there's some heritage trees that are directly adjacent to that sidewalk. And we've had an arborist already go out and take a look, and it doesn't seem to be a good fit for this location. So here, I just kind of wanted to show you guys, this is the kind of equipment you're going to see. This is actually the exact size of the equipment you're going to see out on site. You can obviously see it's fairly large situation, and the trenches we're going to have to dig are going to be extremely deep, from 20 to 30 feet in some places. So it is going to require the full width of the roadway while we're constructing in each phase, but it will all be phased throughout. So the whole area won't be closed at once, but we'll go into that a little more. We are going to be putting in storm drain inlets all along Rockmore and Meredith Street. And this is about what you can expect to see out there. There will be some that are dual inlets like the one on the right, but traditionally we do have these standard 10-foot inlets on the left. So overall, what will it entail? Here on the right is a good depiction. This is about a 10-foot width trench box in our excavation there. And that is about what you might be able to expect. We have a 66-inch wide pipe going up all the way up Rockmore, from Cherry Lane up Rockmore and along to Meredith. By the time we get to Meredith, it's a little smaller, but we are much deeper at that location. So that width will still be rather large. You're going to experience and see a bunch of digging and trenching with that excavator, as I showed earlier. There will be times as we're doing the water and wastewater relocations previous to installing the storm drain. There will be times where we'll have to do some temporary shutoffs for water in order to connect brand new water lines. All of that is anticipation for the storm drain to come in. We have to clear the area, and some of those are currently in conflict. The driveway access, what you can experience, because as you could see from the pictures before and in this picture here, we will have an area open each day, and we anticipate to try to provide access to each driveway every single day. And we'll have to communicate directly one-on-one when we're coming across your driveways to better communicate as to what structures are going in that location and how long you can anticipate us interfering with your daily activities of getting in and out. We will have to compromise to some instance as far as how much we can allow access in and out throughout the day. But our contractor has agreed to do everything they can to provide that access daily. There will be noise. We are in a very rocky area where we dig down a few feet and we're directly in limestone. So you can anticipate quite a bit of noise throughout the day. It's a rock hammer that has to get through that 10-foot width, 20 feet down. So I do want to be transparent in that. And, we do want to be as accommodating as possible. We're trying to minimize the daily work time. It's from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I could make it go a little faster, but then I'd have to wake people up a little earlier, and I'd rather not do that. And I'd rather not work a little later when people are trying to, relax for the evening as well. So I will ask for patience throughout, but I'm always willing to communicate and listen to any information that the community has for me. There will be traffic lane closures. There's going to be detours, right? So I showed you the size of the equipment, and it's just not feasible to be able to get that equipment out each and every day. As far as manholes and structures that have to be brought in daily, or pipe, that will be brought in daily. We will not, the anticipation is not to have storage in the area. And then at the very end, there will be repaving once we've completed all of the relocations of the water wastewater, as well as the installation of the storm pipe inlets and manhole structures that we're putting in. So the general construction plan here, it's a 15 to 18 month window of construction. We anticipate starting on the 27th. We're still working through some permitting considerations that are being provided by right-of-way management with the city of Austin. And so long as that comes through within the next week, our anticipation is to start laying out environmental controls. You won't see a whole lot within the first week, but that will be our contractor trying to set up at the outfall location, which is at Cherry Lane. And that's where you will see immediate, personnel at that time, but it will take a few weeks for us to get ramped up for actual excavation in the roadway. The construction phasing, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to do the water and wastewater relocations first. Now, these are multiple phases. You're not going to see a singular phase that goes from point A to point B and then we're done. The water wastewater has to be relocated prior to our being able to install the storm to create the space that we need. So you're going to see us starting at Cherry Lane, working our way up Rockmore along and then up to Meredith Street, relocating water and wastewater. And then we will be double backing and coming down and working at the outfall structure at Cherry Lane. You have to start from the downstream end, and that is our downstream end, and work from there back up to Meredith Street. When we get up to Meredith Street, it is 30 feet deep. It's incredibly deep, and it is going to be difficult. So that will probably be our slowest area, which is the last 3/4 of construction, or I should say the last quarter of construction. Traffic detours. We will provide local access only for each phase. So if your driveway is within a closed area, you yourself will have access to it. When we say local access only, that's exactly what that means. We will not allow traffic to be continuously driving through that area while our construction is ongoing. However, if you are a resident within that construction zone, you will have access to be able to drive into your property. And as I mentioned before, as we're working our way towards your property, in anticipation of that, we would like to have a conversation and communicate, hey, we're going to be here within this week or 2 weeks, or, the next 2 days are going to be, localized right here. So that is something that I do anticipate being able to have the opportunity to consider. And that's where my inspector and our contractor will be communicating with me to make sure that we're able to communicate with you, the public, as often as possible.
So on the project communications, well, we want to keep you as updated as we can through this project, but the construction schedules do change around. So we will try to keep you updated on our progress through email. If you are not already on our email list, if you send me an email, I can add you to it. I'll put my email in the chat. If we are going to shut off the water, that does have a very standardized process. There is 48 hours of notice. We provide 48 hours of notice, and we'll leave that notice at your door with information about that shut off, like the length of time we think it will last. I just want to caution, if there's an emergency and we have to shut off the water unexpectedly, we obviously can't give that 48 hours of notice. And then as far as the inlets are concerned, they're all within the right of way, but we will send out like a courtesy letter to let you know if it's in the right of way right in front of your house. We do try to position them so they're not impacting trees or anything like that. but we will let you know if we're planning to install an inlet, and that will be done through a letter. And then, as I said before, if you do have questions during the construction, our inspector is the one who is on site and will be most up to date with what's going on that day. So he's a good point of contact, and I would suggest phone for the inspector as opposed to email generally, though of course Carlos can correct me if I'm wrong. And I think that's everything for our presentation. I think our next slide are the questions, aren't they? Yeah.
Stephanie, this is Carlos Lopez.
Yes.
Can I please say that
yeah,
I prefer to be called on my cell phone number, because that actually it's got my office number.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be all day on site, so it's going to be hard for me to answer any phone calls at the office. So I prefer to have my cell phone number listed there. That way, anybody wants to call me for any questions, that way it'll be a lot easier for me to respond as soon as possible to them.
Yeah, and Carlos, if you put your cell phone in the chat, then people will have that
Okay.
to call you. And I'll put my email there as well, so people can sign up for the emails, although the folks here may already be on that list. I'm not sure. Sometimes I think the construction has to have already started, and then you know what you want to ask.
Well, I was in the middle of writing a question, but I'll just state it. So he had said the project is set to start on September 27th, but there could be some kind of a glitch with that. So my question is, could that be a month delay, or is that a couple month delay? I mean, how long could that delay be?
No, it's a traffic control situation. So the original traffic controls that were provided were to do our best to not have to shut down the roads and clear them daily. But unfortunately, the size of the equipment isn't going to allow for that. So we're going through another review process just for traffic control. And as far as you know, my thought is we should be able to get that cleared up in time to be able to go ahead and start. But unfortunately, this is a process that I've been doing this for 19 years now with the city. And this is a process that I've had to go through for every single project I've ever done. And this hiccup does happen here and there. So my anticipation, though, is to go ahead and get started on that date.
Okay, thank you.
At worst, I'm thinking maybe a week, 2-week delay type of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Kristen and Mark Hallman, do you have a question?
Well, yeah, we live on Meredith Street, where they really impacted people, as well as Nicola, who was just talking. So today, a bunch of paint showed up in our driveway and in the street in front of our houses. One call, I don't know what one call means. And I'm just curious, what is all that about, especially if we're at the latter end of the project? Why are all these paint markings showing up? Just curious.
Sure, I totally understand. So all that paint is communicating to the contractor prior to going into construction. So they paint the entire limits of construction to communicate to the contractor, this is where AT&T is, this is where Texas Gas is, this is where water is, this is where wastewater, so that when they start digging, they don't hit something. Now, is it still possible? Yes, accidents do happen, but it provides a picture on the surface to the contractor in anticipation of construction.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. And that will continue to happen over and over again. It will get repainted and repainted and repainted, because that all of that paint can wash off over time. It's not going to stay down there. So it will likely happen multiple times throughout construction.
This is Susan Joseph. I'm actually on
This is Sammy.
Sammy Joseph. I'm actually on audio only.
Okay.
Am I being heard? I can't tell.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, couple of questions. You know, this is a project that obviously has been way, way overdue. We have suffered through this, as I know other people have, for many, many years. And unless you've seen the water come through you have no idea what it's like. You just can't imagine. So I'm happy to see this project is finally taking shape and taking hold. My question is, I understand how construction projects go, and I understand it's just an absolute mess. I get that. But if there's damage to the actual homeowner's property, as far as equipment being on there or dirt being on there or something like driveways being broken, is the city responsible for that and putting it back in the shape that it was or better?
Yeah, so first of all, we should not have any, as far as I understand, there isn't any construction on private property. Now, are we working directly adjacent to the right of way at times? Yes, we are, which would be your property line. But absolutely, I mean, if the contractor takes pictures before they start construction, they take pictures during construction and after. So the intent is to always be careful and replace anything that would be damaged. But in this particular scenario, I do not anticipate that being really much of an issue. But absolutely, I mean, that communication should come directly to me so that I can communicate with the contractor if there's ever an issue, or with Carlos, bringing him into the picture to say, hey, you know, this is what I saw before, this is what I see now. Just please communicate with us, and we'll be happy to communicate back with you to rectify any situation.
Earlier, Mr. Lopez said that he would put his cell number on the screen and to contact him like that. I have not seen that.
No, I haven't seen that either. Carlos, do you want to say your cell phone number?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying to work on it. It won't take it, but yes, my cell phone number is 512-663-4681.
512-663-4681.
That is correct.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again, please?
I did just put it in the chat.
There it is.
So,
Thank you. I
if
see
you
it.
have access to it.
So the project is beginning, I heard you say September 27th, but for some reason I thought it was September 20th. Am I just wrong? Or is it delayed?
I'm sorry, hold on. Let me look at my calendar real quick, make sure I'm set. Yes, the 27th is supposed to be our notice to proceed date.
Okay.
And that first week, they're putting up environmental controls, so you're not really going to see a whole lot of activity, especially down on Meredith Street, because we're starting construction down at Cherry Lane. So they're going to be putting up tree protection, inlet protection if necessary. They're going to be protecting the environmental situations downstream. They won't really be up in y'all's area just quite yet.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we have a question. Do we know where the water will go during this project? And I'm thinking we mean stormwater. John, do you want to answer that?
So the stormwater should go where it goes right now until the storm drain is installed. So it's going to do what it does right now, basically. As the project moves upstream, portions of it will become active as it connects to inlets. But until we get the whole thing put in, water's going to continue to do what it does right now.
But it won't be any worse than it is now.
No.
How bad it is, I guess, depends a lot on how much rain falls.
Well, I can tell you it's bad. Seriously, I mean, it really is. Unless you've seen it, you have no idea what it's like. And that's my next question. Is the city responsible for the damage that this water has done to our properties?
That's a good question, because our driveway is pretty much destroyed from all the water.
Well,
Mike, I saw you turn on your camera. This is Mike Kelly, our Assistant Director with Watershed Protection.
Thanks, Stephanie. The answer is no, that the city is not responsible for damages to your property from flooding.
Okay, then my question would be, why not?
I would have to get the law department to explain the city's sovereign immunity from that, but basically the city doesn't hold liability for things that are essentially outside of our control.
Well, it
Yes.
was under your control. In other words, the city did not provide us proper drainage. And so the improper drainage destroyed parts of our property.
Okay, you could file a claim with the law department if you want to, and then we can just have them determine that.
Okay. We feel kind of screwed here. Okay.
No, I agree with you on that. That's a pretty callous answer, I thought. but
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I expect from the city.
Mhm.
But we are trying to build this project to provide relief in the future.
As it
And
should
I understand that, but this project has been 25 years, if not longer, in the making. So I wouldn't exactly say that they have been on the fast track trying to give us some relief with this. But I really do believe that again, I would really like for y'all to come out and see what it's like in just a typical rainstorm. Because unless you've seen it, you just can't imagine the water they take, we take, and the other people take. You just can't imagine.
We have videos.
And I'll tell you this much, our street in front of our house now is totally impassable during a rainstorm. Cars have to stop, as you say, turn around, don't drown, because they cannot even get through the water. It's so high, coming from them through us into the street.
Looks like a class 5 rapids river. We had one of those just recently in the last rain.
Bottom line is this is a matter for the lawyers.
Well, we are hoping that this project is going to provide relief. And I know we've had, our field crews go out in the past and try pumping the storm drain. And I know that's not answering for the past years, but we are very hopeful that this project is going to provide relief going forward. And it is a large expenditure of public funds. Are there any other questions about the construction?
I have a question on the timing. I know you said that it was 8 to 6, but is that just Monday through Friday?
Technically, the contractor is allowed to work Saturday, Sunday. Now, is that typical? Not necessarily. If the community communicates with me and is very vocal about requesting that, hey, please don't work on the weekends, and we're in a time crunch, then those are things that alter construction timelines and the schedule and contract as well. But no, it is a calendar day contract. So technically the contractor is allowed to work on the weekend. So again, these kind of requests is absolutely something that I'm definitely willing to, communicate about and try to find common ground. If that's something that the community really doesn't want. And it comes to a point though, where pushing our construction timeline, that's going to have to be something that the community also understands. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
Sure.
And we've had another question about the cost of the project. What is the total cost of the project? John, do you have that? Or Bert?
I guess the question before anybody answers is, what's the question actually articulating? Are we talking about the cost of construction? Are we talking about total cost of design and modeling? And I mean, this is, again, just like you guys have communicated, this is 20 years in the making. So those are different values there.
How about we start with the construction cost?
Sure, I believe we came in at 3.8. Is that correct, Celinda?
On the website, we have 3.5 million, I believe.
All right, there's a lot of numbers when I'm going through. Yes, 3.5. That's accurate.
So, but what about the total cost of the project, not just the construction?
Do we anticipate?
Typically, what we call soft costs or construction related costs like design costs are about 25% of the construction cost. So without having the full ledger in front of me, I can't give the exact, but if we round that 3.5 up to 4 million and say that there was about $1 million in design services for that, we can probably add another $1 million to that project. If we want to round up, we can say it's probably a $5 million total project. And John's nodding his head, so I think it's in the a reasonable order of magnitude without going into all the receipts.
I've got one other question, if I can ask. When the project is completed, would it be safe to say that none of us will experience even the slightest of water problems that we've had before? Will it take care of it 100%?
I can tell you that we've designed this system to carry the 100-year storm. And there's always a storm bigger than the system that we put in. So we've designed it to the largest capacity that we designed to in the city.
Ask me about the one 2 weeks ago.
What about it?
That's kind of concerning to me because with climate change, we seem to be having 100-year storms all the time.
We're designing to the current, what we call the Atlas 14 100-year storm.
Okay.
That's the storm that's just recently been adjusted for what we know about changing rainfall patterns right now.
So some additional information, what that means is that we've increased the size of the 100-year storm that we designed to. And so we're now designing it, that same storm that we used to call a 100-year storm, we've tacked on 2+ inches of rainfall to that. So everything we're designing for is now, 20% bigger than it was before. Now that reflects the climate change that we've experienced up to this time. We look back at 20 years of data and said, wow, this is how much it's changed already. That does not, and I think we don't have a crystal ball, but things could get even bigger. There could be more frequent and heavier storms. And so to John's point, we've got to pick some place where we design a pipe to, but we can't design it for every single possible storm out there. So there could be a storm bigger than that one even that happens that overwhelms the capacity of that system, which is essentially what's been happening because that system was designed so long ago. The design standards back in those days, I don't know, John, when was this built? Like the 30s probably?
I think it was in the 50s, this pipe, but and it was undersized, like you're saying, but it also discharged into the cave, which started to collapse and reduce the capacity that it was able to carry. And if I could also add, we typically design our pipes to carry a 25-year storm, and we let the street carry the rest of the flow. But in this case, because of the unique situation, we're actually putting the whole 100-year into the pipe. So that's much different than we design in other parts of the city.
Thanks for working on this.
If not, thank you all for coming tonight.
That's the video of the flooding and behind me. I'm sorry, I'm just finally got it going. That's in front of the Joseph's house.
That was
Just FYI. It's a lot of water going into the street. I had to really cut it thin though, because it wouldn't upload as big as it was. That's her car and that's her driveway and that's her yard. And that goes all the way through my yard and then into her yard. It's a tremendous amount of water going over. You see her flower bed there? It's going right over her flower bed, destroying her whole left side of her front yard.
I would really encourage y'all, if y'all have not seen it, next time there's even a halfway decent rain, come by. Because again, unless you've seen it, you just cannot imagine how much water they take.
And those videos are exactly why we're doing this project. Because we recognize that you do have a significant flooding problem, and that it's happened repeatedly to your homes, and that's exactly why we're here to do this project.
Well, thank y'all.
You're welcome.
Taking the time, I do appreciate it, and
Absolutely.
ask for patience because going through this kind of environment, it's not easy, it's not simple, and it's going to be taxing. So I do appreciate your patience, and I'm always willing to communicate. So feel free to contact me via email or my phone. And I look forward to meeting each and every one of you.
Well, we know it's going to be taxing to live through the construction, but it's better than the 5 months we couldn't live in our house after the Memorial Day of 2015 flood. So this is going to be much better.
I understand. No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right.
Okay, well, you know how to get in contact with us. And yeah, if you do have, questions that come up during construction, please reach out. So we can try to address them. And yeah, I think you're going to get to know all of us over the next year and a half. All right, so we will be in contact with you as the construction rolls out.
All right. Thank
you. And I do thank you for taking the time to join us tonight and giving us the opportunity to answer your questions and try to address your concerns.